with.com, Joe.
All right, Woody, you big loser. Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes podcast, joins us this morning. Donno, how you doing, bud?
Good morning, Joe. I'm still getting over last Monday. I won't be completely over that national championship loss for a little bit, but I'm proud of the team for getting that far and finishing the year as strong as they did, because when they lost that game to SMU in early November, I don't think any of us imagined they would end their season in the championship game.
No, and beat a lot of good teams. So you're right. Their 3 wins were just fantastic. And by the way, even the way they fought back in the second half of that game. And hey, listen, if somebody would have told you, I've said this to everybody, it's been a little bummed out. If I would have told you with a little under 2 minutes left, you had the ball with a chance to win the game, even better, you got to midfield and still had a little under a minute left, you'd take it every day of the week, wouldn't you?
I certainly would. And, and listen, I know Carson Beck throws the interception there, Joe, but I give him so much credit for the game-winning drive and touchdown that he had against Ole Miss to even get them there in the first place.
Hey, so speaking of Carson Beck, it's a good place to start. I call it the Carson Beck mystery. We got, as you know, the Senior Bowl is going to be starting up tomorrow. We got the East-West game, East-West All-Star game tomorrow is going to be played. And we got 8 players, 8 Canes players, 5 in the Senior Bowl, 3, Wesley Basaint, David Blay, and Nez Cooper will play in the East-West game. And, of course, we got 2 guys in Maui Noah and Ruben Bain that aren't going to do anything because they're high draft picks in this upcoming draft. The one guy left out, which really surprised me, unless it was his decision, is Carson Beck. Are you surprised? And I'm wondering, how is the NFL going to look at Carson Beck, who ended up with a really good season with the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, and as far as why he's not in those games, I haven't heard anything about it being his decision, so I don't know. I mean, I don't want to play the assumption game, but I didn't hear anything about him rejecting bids or anything like that. I would assume he would want to participate. And yeah, Joe, I mean, I think Carson, to me, all the feedback that I've gotten throughout the year is he's viewed as someone who I kept hearing, a day 3 draft pick. I don't know, for sure if he's still in that range or if he might fall off the board completely. But I've always been kind of the understanding he's a day 3 draft pick. He's someone who's going to get an opportunity in the NFL and, could be a guy who has a chance to start some games or be a really solid backup somewhere, because I don't think anyone can deny his poise and his intelligence, the football IQ. I think that's something that's going to jump off the page for him. I do think arm strength wise probably has some limitations. He's going to have to show NFL teams, that he's fully recovered from that elbow surgery that he had a little over a year ago. And he's not the most mobile, but he did show us in the playoffs, Joe, that when you need a first down and he puts his body on the line, he can pick it up for you. So you're right. It is a great mystery, Joe. And it was a great mystery throughout the season, because even when Carson had his unbelievably great moments at Miami this year and, some down moments like the Louisville game, I don't think anyone really had a great idea of how early he's going to get drafted or where he's going to end up. So I just hope he gets an opportunity, because something that Carson Beck did show me and all of us this year is he really is a team first guy, and he really gave everything for that locker room, and he helped elevate Miami to where they got. So I hope he gets a chance somewhere.
I want to ask you, right after the national championship game, we had a 4-day transfer portal. I knew some Canes players were going to jump in it. I was curious, any surprises for you of guys that stayed or left?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the surprises of guys who stayed. Jordan Lyle, it was a pleasant surprise, Joe, because, Miami's running back room is so deep because they kept everybody.
Yeah.
Gerard Pringle dipped his toe in the portal for a few hours, and then Miami managed to retain him. And Pringle would have been a big loss because he had his breakout season here as a true freshman at running back. He didn't get used much in the playoffs because they really leaned on Fletcher. But Jordan Lyle was someone who was injured for the early part of the year and just never was able to find his rhythm and get back into the rotation once he got healthy again. So I was fully expecting him to go somewhere, and I know he was hearing from teams. And so I think he probably made, Joe, a mature decision because coming off the quiet year that he had, his stock is not very high right now. So maybe he wasn't, seeing, the sort of offers from other teams he would have expected. So he decided to compete at Miami. And I respect that about him. In terms of, surprise departures, the one that hit the portal yesterday, who's already found his new landing spot, Raul Popo Aguirre, linebacker heading into his fourth year. Hate to lose him. I think his rationale, Joe, and I did hear from his father, who maintained that it was simply about playing time and finding the clearest path to it. Now, Popo, who we really like, and he played quite a bit this year, but he was not a full-time starter. Once Mohamed Toure decided to return to Miami because he gets his 8th year of eligibility because he had a bunch of injuries early in his career. Toure is the presumed starter at inside linebacker, and so I think Popo decided to go somewhere where he can play, and he actually joins his younger brother, just signed as a recruit in December with NC State. So Popo has signed with the Wolfpack, so he's going to go to another ACC team. I hate to lose him, but I wish him the best. Miami, another one early on in the portal, Joe, a departure that surprised me a little bit was Dante Simpson at defensive tackle.
Yeah, I was
he
hoping he'd
he
stay.
got some playing. Yeah, he got some playing time this year as a true freshman. I thought he could have been a big part of the rotation next year, but Miami has done a pretty good job bringing defensive linemen in. Jarquez Carter from Ohio State is someone that I really like. So I think Miami's going to be okay, more than okay at defensive tackle, but you hate to lose Dante Simpson.
All right, so let's go to the most important position that we spend a lot of time on sports talk shows talking about, especially if you don't have one. Quarterback, Darian Mensah. You think he ends up here? What do you think happens? Man, things have gotten really quiet. We know he's in the portal with legal stuff all around it. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I'm almost 100% certain. I'm like in the 90th percentile that he does end up at Miami. Like you said, there have been major legal entanglements. And the latest on Darian Mensah's situation, he signed more than a year ago. It was like 13, 14 months ago, signed a 2-year NIL rights agreement, signed his marketing rights away to Duke for 2 years. And then after 1 year, when he decided to hit the portal, like Duke is trying to hold him to that contract. Now, I think that one way I think this gets mischaracterized by some people on social media and even in the actual media is that Duke is like actually fighting to keep him at Duke and essentially like hold him on their roster next year. I don't think Duke at this point has any expectation that Darian Mensah is going to be their quarterback next year. In fact, they just signed one of the few remaining quarterbacks in the portal, Walker Eget from San Jose State, who essentially is going to be Mensah's replacement, just signed with them. It was either late last night or early this morning. So I think what Duke is fighting here, Joe, is they want to make sure that the signature that Mensah put on that piece of paper, that means something and that they can hold him accountable for that. So I think what they're going to be talking about this week and what they have been talking about since he entered the portal on, I think it was January 16th. So he's been in there for about 10 days already. I think they're just trying to make sure that they get fair compensation, I'm sure to the tune of 7 figures for him getting out of that NIL deal.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
So Joe, he's got a hearing scheduled for this Thursday, January 29th, but it was reported by Matt Zenitz and Chris Hummer of CBS Sports yesterday that there still is open dialogue between Mensah and Duke, outside of the courts to try to maybe come up with a settlement. So I guess optimistically, you'd hope they can come up with something even before Thursday that Mensah will be able to join the Hurricanes, because I think that's where this is going.
Yeah, he's kind of, it seems like from the outside he's checked out as far as not going back and the things about how close the team is and he's not part of it. I'm with you. I think he's moved on. By the way, 34 touchdowns, 6 picks, and he's an ACC champion. We forget Duke won the ACC. I almost forgot myself, like how everybody got in. But they did. They played great in the ACC. They got had a bunch of losses, but he could be a special one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned 34 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I think he could be incredible in Shannon Dawson's offense. Like he's kind of somewhere like between Cam Ward and Carson Beck. He adds a little bit more of an improvisational scrambling ability. He's a little bit more mobile than Beck. He's got a really strong arm. They'll try to cut down on some of the. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions, Joe, like you mentioned. Did have some fumbles last year. There were a lot of turnovers in their loss to Illinois specifically. So he's going to try to clean up some of that stuff. But we heard the same thing about Cam Ward before he got to Miami. Oh, he fumbles too much. He was able to clean it up here. And I think Mensah, honestly, Darian Mensah will give Miami a higher ceiling at quarterback than what they had with Carson Beck this year. I think Beck probably has a higher floor because of his, experience level and just his steadiness. But I think Darian Mensah will give Miami a higher ceiling, and I think you open up a lot of possibilities. And it might not just be Mensah, Joe, because his top receiver from Duke, Cooper Barkate, who had over 1,100 receiving yards last year, he's also in the portal, and it seems like Barkate is not talking to any other team. He's just waiting for Mensah in Miami. So the two of them might come here as a package deal.
Yeah. That's good and bad. We got some good young receivers, man. I think Moore's got a chance to be a number one. He's got a chance to be a number one draft pick and go in the first round, not number one overall, but be a first round. Freakish talent. I just hope we don't lose his development. Are you with me on that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I hope we can keep the perfect balance where we keep these guys in the
I like the
program.
transfer portal, but, man, I like growth of our own too, and I hope they put that kid in the front there somewhere because he and Malachi together could be a lot of fun. Hey, two guys that the team was hoping would both stay. They get one. They lose their starting left tackle. Matter of fact, he must be pretty damn well respected in the NFL because he's going to the Senior Bowl, Markel Bell. But it's good to get Moten back at that defensive tackle position. I was concerned even late that his grade might be too good and he might take off for the pros. Were you surprised either way?
I guess no, I wasn't, because there had been some buzz that Moten was going to come back for his one final year because I think he can still raise his draft stock. In terms of Markel Bell, Joe, before the playoffs started, I would have told you I feel pretty good about Markel maybe staying for his final year, but he played so well in the postseason, both as a pass blocker and a run blocker I
did.
But it's funny because I would have said the same thing about Mark Fletcher. Like Mark Fletcher, I thought, man, he raised his stock so high in the playoffs that I would have thought Fletcher might leave, but Fletcher tripled down on staying. Mark Fletcher, running back, is staying at Miami, which I'm thrilled that he's staying. I'm thrilled that Moten is staying. For Markel, losing him, it's going to give, a couple of guys an opportunity, Joe. If I'm just going to kind of guess who the next starting left tackle might be, I think it might be Matt McCoy, who got, of course, a lot of time as the starting left guard this year. Maybe Samson Okunlola becomes the full-time starting left guard, or maybe you could even swap that. I think maybe Okunlola could even play left tackle, but I think it's going to be some combination of those two guys on the left side.
But it's always cool getting caught up with you. I appreciate it. I was cold, cool. We've been talking about cold weather all morning. Hey, thank you, man. Appreciate it, Alex, very much.
Joe, Hollywood, stay warm out there, okay?
Always. Thank you, bud. Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes podcast. We got to go to break.